If I told you there was one technique you could learn that would develop your own voice as an artist, help you be able to borrow from the artists that you admire without being a copycat or a rip-off artist or a sound-alike, and also analyze music at a much deeper level, would you be interested? I thought so. Let's find out what that is. Okay, so the big key to delivering on all those ideas that I just talked about at the beginning of the video, learn to write standard notation, sheet music. Now, I know a lot of people just instinctually went, oh, that doesn't have any use for me, or that it's an outdated idea, or it doesn't pertain to what they want to do. Stick with me. We're going to use it in ways that you probably haven't guessed. Now, the good news is you don't have to become the world's greatest sight reader. You don't have to be a classical violinist level or be able to just impromptu play music off the sheet, although that could be cool if you wanted to. All you have to do is be proficient enough to be able to gradually understand what you see on a page and also be able to write down ideas. When you go to learn standard notation, I'd advise learning rhythm first, how to write it, and then learn your note values. It's not nearly as hard as you might think it is. A short, decent method, probably here on YouTube somewhere, will get you through it in a short amount of time. Like I said, just being able to understand what you're seeing and be able to dissect it. Now, the first thing that this is going to unlock for you is it's going to remove how you usually absorb information when you're learning songs or learning pieces or leads from other artists. When we learn something by ear, which you're going to need to just to be able to do notation, but you're getting a mass chunk of information. You're learning the rhythm, the notes, the tonality, and the overall feel from the artist all in one chunk. What writing it down in notation does is it allows you to split it up into layers to be analyzed completely separately. You can analyze just the rhythm by itself by looking at the rhythmic signatures and how it's written out. You can analyze the notes completely separately. You can then sit and think about their tone and how they actually deliver these parts completely outside of all those other elements. An interesting thing might happen, and it's happened to me a number of times. I've realized some of the artists that I really love and wanted to absorb their style and understand it, there was only one piece of what they did that I actually really liked. And it wasn't until I split it out and was able to look at it that I figured that out. That there was a rhythmic style somebody had, but actually their notes I didn't dig too much. Or I really loved their melodic signatures and where their usual go-to notes were, but their rhythms just didn't strike me that well, and I just didn't feel or groove with them that well. I was able to split them apart and take just the component that I liked, whether it was the rhythm or the notes or the delivery, and leave all the stuff I didn't want behind, and now I owned just that component, and it got to mix with all the other things, maybe a rhythm from another band, something like that. And then my voice started to emerge because I got to go through and mine the little pieces of gold from all the other pieces of music that I loved that I felt reflected me, and then I could gather that into my own signature, and that made it unique instead of just imitating, a Pantera riff or something, and you go and just kind of spend a lot of time just manipulating it and trying to make it sound different rather than being able to truly tear it apart and be influenced by the one part of it that you really like. The other thing that this will help you do is also be able to go across a whole discography or really understand a signature from an artist and dissect what it is that makes them special. When you're writing out rhythms, what you'll start to notice, because you're kind of getting like a old school piano roll little set of digits, is you'll start noticing chunks of similarities, little pieces that seem to pop up in almost every song from that artist, and a rhythm that looks like it could be pulled from any of the other sheets. That tells you that's their rhythmic hook. That's their rhythmic signature, as it were, the thing that most people latch onto or associate with them. And so in understanding that, you immediately have cut through so much stuff that people just wind up intuitively having to arrive at over years maybe of studying one band and getting right into one player's aspect, being able to figure out what it is, pull it out, and just take that piece. And you don't have to learn 700 songs. After a few, you'll start to notice what that rhythmic signature is, or that little motif of a couple of notes they always seem to lean to, or a certain scale pattern. That kind of information that fast that you can then put together with other pieces from other artists and things becomes invaluable. And I've gotten really excited in the middle of just transcribing something, realizing I found the key. It was like I had unlocked this mystery box of amazing information that I had always wondered about. Like, why does that guy write such a great riff? Transcribed 2 songs, I understood it completely, and now I had that power to be able to put it in my own music, but with my own style. Okay, so since we brought up Pantera, let's talk about an example and see where we can go with it. Let's take a quick look at this piece of notation and look at the rhythmic example, since it's fairly simple. This is something from Domination. Now, if you look at it, you can see that the 2 halves, being the first 2 measures and the second 2 measures, are the exact same looking rhythmic groups. They're just placed differently. On the first 2 measures, it starts immediately and on the downbeat. On the second 2 measures, it's 2 rest spaces in. The same rhythmic figure gets used, but it's after a rest at the beginning of the beat. So you're getting the same motif and it's familiar to you, but it's been shifted in how it's being played against the drums. This is a really common thing that Pantera would do. So right there, you've unlocked a piece. You've learned that you can write the same rhythm, but just shift it back and forth, creating what's called a syncopation, and that creates great breakdowns and great grooves. Simple. So the other thing that you'll probably get out of it is you'll see in a lot of other songs, they use this trick constantly. Revolution Is My Name has it in it. Cowboys from Hell has it in it. When you start writing it out, you see this information broken down for you like that. So let's further the example and see what other ideas we might be able to do to create something of our own out of this. Let's say we like this idea, but when we analyze the notes from Pantera, we're not that jazzed about it. That we wind up finding out we're not that big a fan of the kind of bluesier sound, and we want to go to something else. Or, maybe you do love that, and maybe you go even deeper and go into like Texas Boogie, whereas that's where they got a lot of their sound from, and you even go looking at things from Stevie Ray Vaughan or ZZ Top or something like that, and you can start pulling ideas from that into metal in a different way than they did, so you can pull from Pantera's field of influence without sounding just like them or using it in a different way. But let's say for this example that we decide we want to go a different way note-wise completely. Let's say that you like much more dark or dissonant type of tonalities than what Pantera would usually use, but you like their grooves and their sound. So you keep this measure. We're not going to mess with it yet. And let's say you go to something like Morbid Angel. Let's go pretty dark with it, something where they're using a lot of really dissonant notes, but you're not as much a fan of their rhythms and the very straight kind of death metal approach to blast beats and that type of thing. So you transcribe a riff of theirs, you look at the notes, and place them one on each of those pieces of the grid. Now you're playing Pantera's rhythm, but with Morbid Angel's notes over top of it. Now you've got a feel that you like and a tonality that you like that's now going to become completely something of your own. The notes that you love, the rhythm that you love from 2 completely different sources merged into one thing. And then you can even twist it on your own further, trying other experiments or tossing in maybe an odd time signature every 3rd measure or something. But now you've got a platform of something that's completely different and something your own, borrowed from the things that inspire you. Nobody's going to accuse you of ripping off Morbid Angel. Nobody's going to know that you borrowed the rhythms from Pantera. They're going to hear something exciting and different, and by the time you're done adding all your little flourishes and little characteristics you like, they're going to hear something that's genuinely the sum of a bunch of influences plus your own inspiration instead of just a copycat idea. Now, let's say you even go to a third one and the lead comes up and you want to go in another direction again. Say you like melodic phrases and leads, but you don't like traditional metal things or just shredder type of ideas. So let's take a shred idea, like say you transcribe a Dream Theater solo from Petrucci or something, but you want to get a little less tech with it. So you go way back into classic. You go to Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin and you transcribe his vocal lines. And you start seeing where he puts his bluesier notes or his inflections against what chords and things like that. And you start adding that in to the shred technique and the rhythmic tendencies that someone like Petrucci has. Two completely different approaches to things, and they're not even on the same instrument. But because you can put this stuff together and analyze it through notation, now you've got a completely new and stylistically different idea that you can put into this song that now has a huge amount of influences that you've been able to put down intelligently and purposefully, one piece at a time. You don't have to wait for inspiration. You know what your gold mines are, and you go and grab from them as you want to, and you'll always come up with ideas that you didn't expect even when you sat down. It's kind of an exciting approach to be able to write these things down and go, I know I'm going to love what comes out of this because it's all the pieces of things that I've grown up loving or I listen to all the time, and I'm going to hear it in a new and different combination, and it's going to be my own. If that isn't just the most awesome way to approach music, I don't know what is. But this is another way of getting creativity on demand, which I'm going to cover in another video. So again, subscribe. There's a lot more coming in this series based on the I wish somebody had told me sooner ideas. Some of the downsides about why other forms of notation and things like tabs, I covered in another video, info card up there. So if you're tempted to go into tabs, just realize you're not going to get this level of depth. And this is why tabs can wreck you musically. This is why learning notation has an infinite amount of benefits, along with ear training, that will make you better, faster, the $6 million shredder, whatever you want to be. It can quickly distill a ton of information down into one component that you can easily go through and draw from as you want to, and you don't even have to be inspired at that moment. You can create inspiration by knowing where to go. And as you do this more and more, your library of things will just become massive. It's gotten to the point where when I studied it for a long time and now it's become second nature to me, I'll sit down and I'll just start writing out little rhythmic signatures and things that I know I'm going to enjoy if I'm stuck for a part. And then I can sit and do melodies over it until I just come up with something so different from what I thought that I know I've got a truly unique part separate from anything else I've ever done, and then put it into the song. It took no time at all. So as I just mentioned, this video is part of a series. We're going to cover a lot more of these type of ideas. And again, things I found out much later in my career that helped me a lot, that I learned through teaching other students and being able to analyze what the most common problems were. A lot of information that I just don't see getting out there in video or book form, and I'm really eager to share it with everybody. So if you like this, please subscribe, share, and in the comments section, tell me if you try this out and what things occur to you or things that you notice when you do it. And also, I'm thinking about sitting down and actually going through developing a piece of music or a riff or something and showing it with the actual examples all the way through. If you think that would be something you'd be interested in or would like me to do a longer video actually going through the full process and showing how I borrow from things, please make a comment below. Let me know you'd be into that, and I can see if there's enough response, and I'd be happy to put something like that in if there's enough interest in it. But we've got more coming up on style development, songwriting, and even how to keep creativity going outside of just the standard notation idea and be able to be creative on demand. People say it's an unteachable skill. It's not. You can learn how to be creative in any situation. You may not always be writing the greatest symphony ever, but you will come up with ideas that are good, that are interesting and original, and you can do it on demand. Inspiration is something that can be taught. Don't let anybody lie to you. In any case, that's going to wrap up this one, but like, subscribe, share. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the series and any ideas or thoughts that maybe you have that I should look at putting into the future videos. Thanks as always for watching. I'll see you on the next one.